They laughed when she reported the harassment, dismissed her like background noise in their busy precinct. But what they didn't know, what they never thought to ask, was who she really was. And when the truth finally surfaced, it didn't just silence the room. It rewrote her story, her name, and their place in it. Because some families carry more than pain. They carry legacy, and this one was built on quiet power and a history the badge couldn't touch. The precinct smelled like cold coffee and paper. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting a pale buzz across the worn linoleum floor. Monica Reed stepped inside without hesitation. Straight posture, navy coat still damp from the drizzle outside, and a calm grip on the strap of her leather bag. She walked to the front desk, where two officers leaned over paperwork and half-empty soda cups. One was mid-40s, stocky, mustache curled like punctuation. The other younger, all elbows and sarcasm. Neither looked up right away. "I need to report something," Monica said, voice steady, not loud, but clear enough to slice through the noise. Stocky raised an eyebrow. What kind of something?" "A man followed me off the train platform," she continued. "I took 3 turns trying to lose him. He didn't stop until I reached my apartment door." She described him. Height, build, clothes, even the pattern on his shoes. She had it memorized. Trauma tends to etch things like that. She also had timestamps from the train, partial security footage from a nearby store, and a photo she managed to take discreetly. The younger officer finally looked up. "You took a picture of him?" His tone walked the line between disbelief and amusement. "Yes," Monica replied, pulling out her phone. "I figured you might need it." He leaned back in his chair with a smirk. "Most folks would just call their boyfriend." Mustache chuckled, low. "Or their horoscope reader." She ignored it. "I'd like to file a report, and I'd also like to know if there have been similar complaints in the area. I can give a full statement." Mustache shook his head, still half laughing. "Jesus, you're serious?" Monica didn't blink. "I am." The younger one muttered it just loud enough. Another Karen in reverse. It hung there for half a second too long. Monica's hand didn't move. Her eyes didn't flinch. But the room shifted. She let silence press in before speaking again. "I'll need the case number for my report, the names of the officers taking it, and a copy of any official paperwork you generate from this conversation." Now they looked at her. Really looked. She wasn't flustered. She wasn't wide-eyed or angry. She was prepared, which made her dangerous. Mustache cleared his throat. "Ma'am, it's just we get a lot of complaints that turn out to be misunderstandings. So document it," Monica said calmly. "If it's nothing, the file will show that. If it's not, at least we won't have to explain why no one acted." The younger one didn't speak again. They eventually took her statement, but sloppily. No follow-up questions. No urgency. When she left, they were already joking about lunch. But Monica didn't need them to take her seriously. Not yet. She just needed the clock to start ticking. By the time Monica stepped outside, the rain had stopped, but something heavier lingered in the air. Her heels clicked against the sidewalk in quiet defiance, the sound barely noticeable beneath the city's usual hum. But inside her, a storm had started, and it wasn't going away. They hadn't even asked for the time-stamped photo she offered, hadn't asked where the man went after he followed her, hadn't asked how she managed to lose him, or if she was safe now. Instead, Officer Smirk leaned back in his chair and said, "Next time, maybe try a different route. Safer neighborhoods, brighter streets." And Officer Mustache, the seasoned one who should have known better, didn't even glance up from his paperwork. Probably just a guy looking for directions. "You sure he wasn't just lost?" She had nodded, not in agreement, but in that quiet, dangerous way people nod when they're being ignored, belittled, dismissed, and they're filing it away for later. Monica didn't argue. That was what they expected. A scene, a raised voice, a finger pointed in frustration. But she gave them none of it. Just polite silence, and a slow, professional tone. The same voice she used in conference calls, in courtrooms, in interviews where she had to prove she was twice as capable for half the credit. She asked one last time for the report number. Officer Mustache scribbled something on a sticky note and handed it to her like it was a napkin. "Should be in the system by next week." She pocketed it with the same calm she'd walked in with, but as she pushed through the precinct doors, her hand slid into her coat pocket and tapped the screen of her phone. The voice memo had been recording for 17 minutes. Every word, every smirk, every shrug. She saved it, then saved a backup. At the curb, a city bus rolled past with an ad for a local law firm plastered along the side. Monica glanced at it, then down at her shoes, damp at the toes. She took a breath and whispered, "Not today." By the time she reached her apartment, she had already documented everything. The officer's badge numbers, the time she entered and exited, even the smell of the coffee on Mustache's breath. Her brain moved like that when it needed to, dissecting every detail, archiving every moment. She poured a glass of water, sat down on her couch, and opened her laptop. The report was useless, but the record wasn't, and her instincts told her this wasn't about one man on a train platform anymore. This was about every time someone said don't make it a big deal. Every time someone said stop being dramatic. Every time someone told her in words or in smirks that she was seen, but not taken seriously. Monica Reed didn't raise her voice. She just hit upload. The apartment was quiet, lit only by the soft amber glow from a lamp in the corner. Monica sat at her kitchen table, her untouched dinner cooling beside her laptop. The screen still showed the saved voice memo, time-stamped, labeled, locked. Her fingers hovered over it, then moved toward her phone instead. She scrolled past names until she landed on Aunt Gloria. The phone rang twice. "Monica, baby. Everything all right?" The voice was warm even, but laced with instinct. Judge Gloria Whitman hadn't worn the robe in years, but she still carried the weight of authority in every syllable. "I'm fine," Monica said. It wasn't a lie, not exactly, but it wasn't the whole truth either. There was a pause, the kind that waits for permission. "I went to the precinct today," Monica added, eyes fixed on a small crack in the table's finish. "I reported that man. The one who followed me. And they laughed," she said softly. "Didn't even look up until I made them. One of them said I was being dramatic. The other called me a Karen, in reverse." Gloria didn't gasp, didn't rush to comfort. She just inhaled once, slow and deliberate. "Like I was wasting their time," Monica finished. Another pause. Then, "Which precinct?" 42nd. West End. Gloria said, the sound carrying a quiet weight. "I know that desk. Name tags. Haley. Norton. Of course." A rustle of paper on the other end. Monica pictured her aunt, sitting at the old oak desk, where legal pads still formed towers and highlighters, lay like weapons waiting to be chosen. "I recorded it," Monica said. Gloria didn't sound surprised. "I hope you did." More silence, but not empty. The kind that fills up with thought. "I'm not going to raise hell," Monica said. "I don't want drama. I wanted them to take it seriously." "They won't," Gloria said gently. "Not because it isn't serious, but because you are." Monica blinked. "What does that mean?" "You walked in with composure, facts, evidence. That makes certain men nervous. Makes them reach for arrogance, like a shield. It's not you, baby. It's what they refuse to see." Monica leaned back in her chair, eyes glassy. Gloria's voice softened. "Let me make a few calls." "To who?" "To people who remember your grandfather. People who remember what the Freeman name means in this city. I'll keep it quiet. I didn't want to make this into—" Gloria cut in, but not unkindly. "You didn't. They did. We're just turning the lights on." Monica closed her eyes. "Okay," she whispered. Gloria's voice steadied. "Get some rest. You did right." After the call, Monica sat for a long time. No music, no TV, just the soft hum of the refrigerator, and the growing weight of something waking up. Not vengeance, not fear. Something older, something earned. The attic smelled like cedar and dust, the kind of scent that clings to memory and silence. Monica hadn't been up there in years, not since her mother passed, and the house became more museum than home. She climbed the narrow steps slowly, each creak underfoot, sounding like an old question being asked again. The light bulb overhead flickered once, then held steady. She moved past faded Christmas ornaments and old textbooks, past boxes labeled kitchen baby clothes, college stuff, toward the far corner, where an old blanket covered something solid, heavy, wooden. She pulled it back. The box was dark-stained oak, edges worn smooth with time. One word was etched across the lid in block letters: Freeman. Her breath caught, not because she didn't expect it, but because even the sight of the name felt like a key, unlocking something buried. She unlatched the box. The top opened with a soft groan, revealing a stack of carefully arranged contents. Newspaper clippings, some yellowed with age, some crumbling at the edges. Headlines like "Black Commander Leads All-White Battalion in 73 Operation" and "Langston Freeman, Quiet Hero of the North Ridge Accord." There were medals, some she recognized, others she didn't. Bronze Star, Purple Heart, a Medal of Valor, with a citation folded beneath it, typed in a stiff serif font, and signed by a long-dead president. Then, court transcripts, dog-eared and faded. Civil rights cases her grandmother had helped file when she was one of the only black women practicing law in 3 counties. One document had a sticky note in her grandmother's handwriting: "Don't forget who we are." And finally, tucked inside a leather folder, the photo. Her grandfather stood at attention, uniform crisp, posture commanding. A younger version of her mother stood beside him, proud and unblinking. Behind them, the American flag waved slightly out of frame, caught mid-motion, like it was saluting too. Monica stared at it for a long time. She had seen pictures before, of course, but never this one. Not this clear, not this full. The frame held more than faces. It held legacy, history, burden, pride. She ran her fingers over the corner of the photo. General Langston Freeman. The man whose name was whispered with reverence in certain rooms and conveniently forgotten in others. He didn't make speeches. He made decisions. He didn't seek attention. He commanded it without asking. And now, so would she. Monica gently replaced the photo and closed the box. But something in her had already opened. She stood up, dusted off her coat, and looked once more around the attic. She hadn't come for keepsakes. She'd come for clarity. And she found it. The first call came in just after 8 o'clock a.m. A quiet ring in a quiet office on the 3rd floor of City Hall. Not the kind of call you send to voicemail. The kind that makes assistants knock twice before handing over the receiver. By 9:15, 3 more had come through. One to the district attorney's chief of staff, another to a retired state senator who still had influence in committee back rooms, a third directly to the mayor's personal line. All said the same name. Freeman. Not shouted. Just said. But that was enough. In the office of Councilwoman Della Rowe, the name echoed like a tuning fork. She leaned back in her chair, long fingers laced behind her head, and stared at the ceiling for a beat. "Tell me again," she said to her aide. "Which precinct?" 42nd. 2 officers. Haley and Norton. Rowe let out a soft whistle. They messed with the wrong one. Across town in the DA's office, someone pulled an old press release from a dusty archive. Freeman Family Scholarship to support underrepresented law students. A staffer read it twice, then slowly turned to his supervisor. "You remember who Monica Reed's grandfather was?" The supervisor nodded. "We're about to." At the Civic Archives, an intern searching for zoning maps stumbled across an old photo used in a commemorative exhibit years ago. General Langston Freeman standing with Mayor Henderson, back when the city was still trying to prove it had a conscience. The intern sent it in a group chat. "Y'all this the same woman they laughed at?" The responses came fast. "Oh no, that name's not just history. It's fire insurance. Somebody better call PR right now." And they did. Whispers moved faster than memos. Faster than reports. Faster than regret. By lunchtime, half the senior officials in the city had heard some version of it. A Freeman had walked into a precinct, and they hadn't recognized her, hadn't respected her, hadn't listened. That kind of mistake doesn't get filed. It gets felt. Not everyone understood the weight of the name, but enough did. Enough to know the Freeman legacy wasn't built on press conferences or grand gestures. It was built in courtrooms and battlegrounds, and long, painful silences that demanded to be broken. Behind closed doors, meetings were rescheduled. Notes were passed with urgency. Quiet apologies were drafted before anyone officially asked for them. Because when a woman walks into a room with a voice steady as stone, and a name that echoes through the bones of the city, you listen, even if it's late. Especially if it's late. It was 8:59 a.m. when Monica Reed walked through the precinct doors again. Same calm stride, same coat, same eyes that didn't flinch. But this time she wasn't carrying fear. She was carrying a binder. Thick, black, tidy. The front desk looked almost exactly as she'd left it. Same coffee stains, same buzzing lights, same officers, Haley and Norton, still pretending to be busier than they were. Haley looked up first, a flicker of recognition crossing his face. Not surprise, just a quiet, "Oh no," that didn't quite reach his mouth. Norton gave a half laugh. "Back already," he said, tone light. "Did we forget to give you your receipt or something?" Monica didn't respond. She just set the binder on the counter with deliberate care. The thud was soft, but in a room like that, it echoed. Inside the binder were printed transcripts, legal precedents, 2 affidavits from witnesses, including Mrs. Delgado, the neighbor across from her apartment who'd seen the man tailing her, and a formal complaint filed with the Civilian Review Board, time-stamped at 7:12 that morning. But before she could even open it, the door at the end of the hallway swung open. Captain Brannigan stepped out, tall, grizzled, eyes wide behind wire-frame glasses. He didn't look at the officers. He was staring at his phone, like it had just slapped him. "Miss Reed," he said, voice tight. She turned to him. "Yes. Would you step into my office?" Neither officer said a word. Haley looked down. Norton fidgeted with a pen he wasn't holding 5 seconds ago. Monica nodded once and followed. The office was dimly lit, papers stacked in uneven piles across the desk. But the air felt different, thicker. Brannigan gestured to a chair across from him. She sat without hesitation. "I just got off the phone with the mayor's office," he began. "And before that, a judge who used to clerk for your grandmother." Monica said nothing, just waited. "And General Langston Freeman," he added, almost like the name tasted unfamiliar. "That was your grandfather." She met his eyes. Brannigan cleared his throat. "I wasn't aware of the full picture last time. I want to apologize for how your report was handled." "It wasn't handled at all," Monica said quietly. They laughed. He nodded, slowly, like each motion cost him a little more than the last. "I've reviewed the audio," she continued, tapping the binder, "and the timeline. I'm not here to embarrass anyone. I'm here because what happened is part of a pattern, one you should have seen long before me." He didn't argue. "Because history doesn't knock. It walks in, places a binder on your desk, and makes you listen." Monica leaned forward, voice steady as truth. "Now, let's talk about accountability." Captain Brannigan turned the pages like they were glass. One after another, a notarized letter from Gloria Whitman, East Skye, Monica's late grandmother, outlining a 1978 civil rights case against the city for wrongful arrests in black neighborhoods. 3 testimonies included, all one, all buried in time. A scanned certificate bearing the Department of Justice seal, her uncle's name etched beneath, Special Agent Ellis Reed, Federal Bureau of Investigation 1991-2012. A commendation attached for dismantling a human trafficking ring across 4 states. Then came the military records meticulously preserved. Her grandfather's rank, service years, honors. The language was dry, but the weight behind each phrase, strategic lead, national defense liaison, awarded with distinction, made the room feel smaller. Brannigan adjusted his glasses, flipped back to the first page, then finally looked up. "I didn't know," he said quietly. Monica didn't blink. "You didn't ask." The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was earned. The kind that only grows when someone realizes they missed something big, something human, because they weren't looking past the surface. He folded his hands. "Miss Reed, I want to acknowledge—" "No," she interrupted, her voice calm but firm. "Not yet." He paused. She leaned in, eyes steady. "Why did it take this? A binder full of bloodline and proof, medals, cases, government records, for you to listen?" Brannigan exhaled through his nose. "It shouldn't have, but it did." He nodded once. "And if I didn't have a name you recognized," she continued, "if I didn't come from a family with courtroom echoes and military stars, would I still be here? Or would I still be just the woman you brushed off at the desk?" The captain didn't answer, because the truth had already spoken for him. Monica sat back, letting the question hang. "You looked through those pages," she said, "and then you decided I mattered." She wasn't yelling. She didn't need to. The binder had already done the shouting. Brannigan cleared his throat. "I'll be speaking with Officers Haley and Norton directly. Disciplinary action is being considered." "Consider all you want," Monica said, standing. "But what you do next?" That's the part people remember. He stood too, slower than she did. For what it's worth, I respect what you've brought forward. She stared at him. I didn't bring it for respect. I brought it so the next woman who walks in here doesn't have to. And with that, Monica picked up her binder, turned on her heel, and walked out the same way she walked in. Quiet, calm, undeniable. Names didn't make her powerful. She brought the power with her. The names just reminded them who they forgot. The room wasn't large, but it felt full. Folded chairs lined up in rows. A long table with microphones. A modest sign behind it. Community Oversight and Conduct Review. City of West End. Reporters filled the back wall, notepads in hand. Cameras perched on tripods. The front rows were occupied by council members, precinct supervisors, and a few familiar neighbors. Monica spotted Mrs. Delgado near the aisle, lips pressed tight, hands clasped in her lap like she was holding something in. At the podium stood Monica Reed. No binder this time, just her voice, and the weight of everything behind it. She adjusted the mic once, then paused. No clearing of the throat, no shuffling of notes, just breath, still and measured. When I walked into that precinct, she began, I didn't come with attitude. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't ask for special treatment. I just asked to be heard. She looked across the room, not at the officials, but at the people watching, the ones who had seen it all before, and still doubted anything would change. They laughed, she said. Not because what I said was funny, but because they thought they could. Someone at the table shifted in their seat. And it wasn't new, not to me, not to anyone who looks like me. We get used to being dismissed. Soft voices get treated like silence. Clarity gets mistaken for exaggeration. And if we push too hard, we're aggressive. If we don't, we're ignored. She didn't blink. They thought I was alone. She paused. Let that land. But I wasn't. I come from courtroom warriors and battlefield leaders, from women who didn't yell to be heard, because the truth spoke for them. I didn't drop my family's name that day, not because I was hiding it, but because I shouldn't have to prove I come from power to be taken seriously. Councilwoman Rowe gave the faintest nod, visible only if you were looking for it. I'm not here today just because something happened to me. I'm here because what happened to me is still happening to others. Women who won't be invited to speak, who won't have their stories passed around in headlines, who don't have a binder to drop on a desk. She rested her hands gently on the podium. I didn't come for revenge. I came for correction, for acknowledgement, and for the next woman who walks in afraid and leaves unheard. I hope by then, the room has changed. The silence that followed wasn't hollow. It was charged. When Monica stepped down, no one clapped, not out of protest, but out of reverence. Some words are too true for applause. The video was 7 minutes and 12 seconds long. No music, no dramatic edits. Just a still frame of Monica Reed standing behind a plain wooden podium, the city seal faint in the background, her voice calm, her words precise. And somehow that was what made it unstoppable. By morning, it had 12,000 shares. By noon, 400,000 views. By midnight, national outlets were picking it up with headlines like "The Woman Who Spoke Without Raising Her Voice" and "Legacy and Truth in a Binder." Clips spread across platforms, some cut to her closing line, others showing the moment she said it wasn't her name that gave her power, but the fact she'd always had it. But the line that stuck, the one that echoed in captions and comments, stitched across screens like a refrain, was the simplest: I didn't ask for special treatment. I asked to be believed. And just like that, people started looking. They found her grandfather, Brigadier General Langston Freeman, pulling his photo from military archives, reposting images of him beside civil rights leaders and quiet, dignified quotes about country and courage. They found her grandmother's cases, court documents scanned and shared, old press clippings where Gloria Whitman stood with 3 clients outside the courthouse steps, holding hands victorious. They found her uncle's DOJ commendation, still live on a federal website, recognizing his 2 decades of undercover work dismantling systemic trafficking networks. And then they found Monica, law school valedictorian, former public defender, volunteer mentor at the East Side Youth Initiative. No scandals, no stunts, just steady, consistent service, and a refusal to be made small. Comment sections flooded, not with sympathy, but with respect. She didn't flinch. This is what legacy looks like. Imagine how often this happens to women without cameras. She walked in quiet and changed the whole temperature of the room. Even the precinct's social media page, usually filled with canned safety reminders, went eerily silent. No tweets, no updates, just silence. As if even they knew there wasn't a PR caption big enough to bury what had surfaced. In some cities, stories go viral for their shock value. But Monica's story didn't shout. It stood. And that, more than anything, is what people responded to. She didn't threaten. She testified. And in doing so, she reminded the country of something it keeps trying to forget. That dignity isn't granted. It's inherited. And when a woman carries it without apology, she doesn't need to raise her voice. Because the world will raise the volume for her. The apology came on a Monday, typed in a serif font, sealed with the city's crest, and read aloud at a press conference no one smiled through. The precinct's spokesperson stood stiff at the podium, clearing her throat once before beginning. We acknowledge that Miss Monica Reed was not treated with the seriousness or respect her report warranted. For this, the department extends a formal apology. No mention of laughter, no mention of names. But Monica didn't need them to say it. She was already there, standing just off to the side in a charcoal blazer, arms loosely crossed, expression unreadable. Not triumphant, not bitter, just steady, just watching. Officer Haley and Officer Norton had been reassigned pending internal review. No details, just vague words, wrapped in bureaucratic padding. But their absence at the station was loud enough. When the statement ended, cameras turned toward her. Someone asked if she had anything to say. She nodded once and stepped to the mic. Not rehearsed, not smiling, not waiting. "I didn't come here to punish," she said, voice even. "I came here so the next woman who walks into that building doesn't have to prove she matters before she's heard." A few pens paused in mid-scribble. "I didn't ask for an apology. I asked for accountability. And while those aren't the same thing, this is a start." She glanced toward the officers standing behind the spokesperson, faces tight, eyes somewhere just over her shoulder. When someone reports that they're afraid, you don't get to weigh their fear against your disbelief. You just listen. And if that's too much to ask, then the badge becomes a costume, and the desk becomes a wall. Monica stepped back. No applause followed, just the soft mechanical clicking of cameras trying to catch something bigger than a quote. Afterward, reporters tried to stop her in the parking lot. "How do you feel about the reassignment? Do you think they'll lose their jobs? Is this a victory?" She stopped only once, turning back toward them, coat caught in the breeze like punctuation. "This isn't a victory," she said. "This is the first page." And then she walked away. No mic drop, no post, no celebration. Because she knew something that couldn't be captured in a headline. Justice, when done right, doesn't always look like punishment. Sometimes it just looks like a door being opened for someone who never should have been shut out. And Monica, she didn't come to burn the building down. She came to rebuild the entrance. The bell rang, sharp and high, followed by the low murmur of sneakers on tile, and the rustle of backpacks being dropped beside plastic chairs. Room 214 at West End High smelled like pencil shavings, dry erase markers, and half-finished dreams. Monica stood at the front with nothing but a folded photo in her hands. No slideshow, no podium, just her presence, and the truth she carried. The students looked at her like they weren't sure what to expect. Some skeptical, some already tuned out. A few leaned forward, curious. That was enough. "I'm not here to give a lecture," she started, voice calm. "I'm here to give a reminder." A few heads lifted. She unfolded the photo and held it up. Not flashy, not staged, just a moment frozen in black and white. Her grandfather in uniform, shoulders squared, eyes direct. "This is Brigadier General Langston Freeman," she said. "He didn't need a crowd, or a stage. He served this country when it still questioned his right to wear the uniform." She paused. "Let it land. But this isn't a story about medals," she continued. "It's a story about being underestimated, and choosing not to shrink." She didn't list her credentials. She didn't talk about the viral moment, or the apology, or the headlines. She talked about walking into a building and being treated like noise. About what it means when the people meant to protect you laugh instead. About what it means to come from something bigger than yourself, and to still be seen as small. "You don't need a famous name to matter," she said. But you do need to know yours. Silence filled the room, not awkward, but weighty. One student raised their hand. How did you stay calm? Monica smiled faintly. Because calm doesn't mean soft. It means controlled. It means choosing your power, instead of giving it away. Another asked, were you scared? Of course, she said. But fear isn't the enemy. Silence is. She held up the photo again. Power doesn't always wear a uniform, she said. Sometimes it just walks in, quietly, and tells the truth. Afterward, a few students lingered. One girl asked if she could take a photo of the picture, for inspiration, she said. Eyes bright. Monica handed it to her instead. Hold it like it's yours. Because it is. As the room emptied, the teacher approached. You know, she said, we've had guest speakers before, but no one's ever stayed like that. Monica nodded. That's because I wasn't visiting. I was remembering. And sometimes, that's where change starts. Not in courtrooms. Not in cameras. But in a classroom. With a girl holding a photo of a man she never met, but already understood. The City Hall chamber was dressed in polished brass and warm lighting, the kind that made everything feel more important than it was. Chairs arranged in neat rows, a velvet rope guiding guests past framed photos of past honorees, mayors, doctors, entrepreneurs. Mostly men, mostly white, mostly predictable. Monica stood at the edge of the stage, her heels quiet against the hardwood floor. She wore a simple navy dress, hair swept back, no notes in hand, just presence. That had always been enough. The mayor read her name slowly, as if tasting it for the first time. For her unwavering courage, her service to justice, and the legacy she continues to uphold. Miss Monica Reed. Applause rose, steady but not wild, respectful, careful. She stepped forward without smiling, took the plaque, shook the mayor's hand, turned toward the crowd, but she didn't speak. Not yet. Her eyes moved across the room, row by row. A few familiar faces nodded. Some avoided eye contact altogether. And in the back, just past the camera lights, she saw Councilwoman Rowe watching with that same stillness from months ago. Monica adjusted the mic. The applause faded. I'm honored, she said. But I didn't come here for recognition. Pause. I came here because once I walked into a precinct and no one saw me. No reaction yet. Just breath holding. I was told I was overreacting. I was laughed at. Not because I wasn't clear, or calm, or right, but because some people are trained to see inconvenience before they see truth. She glanced down at the plaque in her hand. This isn't justice. It's acknowledgement. And while I'm grateful, I'd trade it in a heartbeat if it meant no one else had to earn belief by dragging their bloodline through a spotlight. A few heads dropped. She continued. Change doesn't start when someone gives you a stage. It starts the moment they stop dismissing your voice in the lobby. Another pause. I'm not here to relive what happened. I'm here to remind you that it did, and that you were all watching. Silence now, the heavy kind. I don't want applause, she said finally. I want culture. I want shift. I want the next black woman to walk into any room, school, courtroom, precinct, boardroom, and be heard the first time. She stepped back. Just a little. Just enough. They didn't clap right away. Not because they didn't care, but because they finally understood that they hadn't just ignored a complaint. They'd almost missed a woman who carried generations of truth in her quiet. And now, they couldn't stop listening. Because the woman they laughed at was never small. They just weren't looking hard enough. If Monica's story moved you, don't let it stop here. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, or speak up when others are silenced. And remember, legacy isn't about medals or names. It's about truth, and who dares to carry it forward. Subscribe to Black Roots for more real stories that challenge assumptions, spark change, and honor quiet power.